My name is Benjamin Lannon, and I am founder and CEO of Free Refills. Today is Saturday, the 20th of June, 2026. The moon is a waxing crescent right now. It is the day before the summer solstice, 2026, and I am reckoning with how I moved through the world, not just over the last quarter, but the last 2 quarters. And what I am recognizing right now is that I have been denying a loud call within myself that thankfully my girlfriend was able to hear, because the other day I said, I could easily spend all day making videos. And she said, I think you should do that. That was Thursday. I spent yesterday navigating that. And then today, I came here to the Taj Mahal to say this to you. Note from Benjamin to Benjamin. I have spent my life haunted by visions. Little gifts to future me. Next time you are inclined to excoriate yourself because you're having trouble building a funnel, remember what it is you are called to do. That the visions are not meant to haunt you. They are meant to move you forward. They are meant to guide you to do your part to make this a better world. You're being called. So trust that getting good at this expression that you are being asked to do day after day after day by the driving need to make your voice heard and then heard out into the world. Trust that this is the right thing. You can build the funnel later. Practice the expression like you are called to do. So that end of a season is always a time of reflection for me and a preparation for the next experiment. This is now how I think of seasons. Each one is an experiment. Like, let's try this and see what happens. These are the parameters we're operating under. Let's see what happens. And so, I'm right at the end of the spring, one of those. And I'm asking myself, how'd that go? What'd we learn? And there have been some real positives in the spring. It was definitely an emotionally easier space to navigate than winter was. I wouldn't say I accomplished what I wanted to in the business, but I think I probably accomplished what I wanted to in the business. The things inside me that needed to switch in order to build better on top. I think I actually succeeded in some pretty big ways on that level. I got a teaching that I needed. There's a man who has a Groupon school. His name is James Humecki, I believe it is. And sorry that I didn't rehearse that, James. I've only seen it written. I've never said it out loud before. And he teaches, he calls it somatic pleasure, which to me means taking pleasure in the movement of the body. And I listened to a podcast that he was on, and the interviewer, asked him to kind of introduce his work. And he said, the 2 points that really stuck with me were, catharsis is not the same as healing, and pleasure is at least part of the path. And I was looking at myself and my practice, and I was like, there's no pleasure right now. I am definitely missing that. And it's odd because it's not like I don't know. I mean, you can go back to the Pali Canon in Buddhism, where they talk about mindfulness. And one of the principles of what you are trying to cultivate in meditation is pleasure. Simple pleasure at existing. That's one of the core 16 instructions on how to meditate. It's in the second tetrad. So it's not that pleasure is a problem. And sometimes when we talk about Buddhism, we misunderstand that because the first noble truth gets translated as life is suffering. And we're told that craving is the cause of suffering. And so it's real easy for those of us who don't understand, haven't really dived in, to assume that means that pleasure is a problem. And it's not. Like, our bodies are not a mistake. This isn't wrong. And so just hearing him on that one podcast was like, okay, I haven't been working with that. Like, I sort of say I do because it's one of the instructions that lives inside my head when I meditate. But like, I wouldn't say that I've actually felt that deep pleasure in just abiding with the breath in longer than I could say comfortably, more than a year. So I just was like, okay, we're going to look for pleasure kind of across the board. And so, I started to notice how much we deny ourselves pleasure. Like, we don't even really acknowledge it outside of a few little realms. Like sexual pleasure, obviously. But I think enough is being said and written about sexual pleasure that we can kind of put that aside for a little bit in this discussion. And then the other one that we kind of allow ourselves maybe is gustatory pleasure, the pleasure of eating. And a lot of people don't even give themselves that. But those are the two places where like talking about actual pleasure get discussed, where we understand that this is true. And otherwise it's like, where do we really allow ourselves pleasure? Some people are able to really allow themselves pleasure in their clothes, right? Like they buy really nice stuff that feels good on their skin. But there's a lot of us who do just like, that's not a thing. Everything is utilitarian and we're not paying attention to that at all. Or we are building something so much that our, upper chakras are so on fire all the time that we've kind of turned off that as beneath our noticing. So I've just been like, yeah, okay, I'm not doing that. And I understand from the instructions that it's something that you can cultivate. So that's what I'm doing. So I would say, you meet somebody, you hear them say one series of things and you make significant changes. Like that's a win for a season. And then, yeah, how that is applying to how I'm looking at what I do is interesting. It was actually hit me really hard this morning when I first stepped into the studio before I turned anything on. I looked around and as I was walking in, I said, I built this. And I kind of looked around and I was like, why don't I enjoy using it? Because it's dope. Like, it's actually pretty fucking sick. I got dope audio monitors with a big old subwoofer if I need it. I got all the screen acreage I need. I got a guitar and an amplifier and a digital amp if I want to do it with this thing. I got the big board here telling me stuff. I got a green screen so that I can do crazy shit in post real easy. Why am I not having fun? Why am I not excited to get to work in the morning? Why isn't it a pleasure to do this? And so I really appreciate what James shared, because that was enough to get me to revamp how I was looking at the world and how I'm moving through it. I'm looking for pleasure because it's there. That's what the tetrad says. It's there. So, thank you, James.